You're watching Global Sakhamuzi, and my name is Ntokozo Msane, aka King Boaz, and I'm somewhere in Pretoria with a brother from the only province with the same name, KwaZulu-Natal, but I will allow him to introduce himself because I'm not fit to untie his shoes. Yeah, welcome to the show, and maybe if you can briefly tell abantu where you're coming from.
All right, yeah. No, thank you for having me.
Yeah.
My name is Ntokozo Msane. I come from KwaZulu-Natal, as he has mentioned, but we're in Pretoria right now. I come from the northern side of KZN. It's a very small community called Lengana. That's where I was born and bred. And today we are going to be talking about some interesting topic based on the African restoration, and just looking at what was used to happen way before, and as opposed to what is currently happening right now with all our different cultural identities, because I believe that there is a trace of saying, or not of saying per se, but a trace of that shows that we still one. We are brothers and sisters. I mean, like we are united, but there is these things that are just happening at the moment, whereby they're sort of shifting us away from who we are or from who we were back in the days. And those are some of the things that I'll be just unpacking today. But obviously with the key focus with where I come from and also the culture of where I come from, and then just fuse everything in together so that at least it makes sense for everyone who's going to be listening to our today's talks.
Okay, so if maybe we can start with your totems, which I think it's Izangelo or something. Maybe if you can break in and give us your totems and maybe explain where those things come from, because I understand that most African families, we do keep our history, or we do keep some tenets of who we are from the totems that we have. What do they mean and where do they come from?
No, I believe they come in from it could be from our fathers, because remember, especially for us in KZN, we carry the surname of the father's side,
Okay.
So obviously from there, there will be whoever was the older and whoever was, in that sense, and then that's where obviously they will then come from back in the days. But I don't feel like we are actually exploring those for now, because we're still using the old same, it's not like we're doing anything that is that could be given or that could be passed on to our generation that are coming, we're just not doing justice.
Yeah, so because at some point we need to have Ntokozo as one of the I think we've lost that because I'm committed, and we use Abo Qwabe, Abo Jama, Ndaba, Mbane, and all those are people that have come before us. We don't have anyone in recent history, and we're kind of cutting short our lineage of sorts. So maybe I have to go maybe 4 names back to then find the person who's in the totem. We're not actively updating that history because we used to keep that history that way. Yeah, and maybe before we get into anything to do with Africa, maybe if we talk about what do you do, what's your background. I met you at Music in Africa conference representing KZN. So maybe if you can unpack what you do, and then we can then get into
okay, basically what actually informs this topic, because I also work or own a company in the tourism space, whereby we are also trying to fuse in tourism and the history, which is basically our identity,
Yes.
So I'm a managing director, or rather say a director and a CEO of an organization or a company called Mseleni Trail Hunters. As I've mentioned, that I come from Mseleni, so that Mseleni comes in. It's the identity of where we come from again. So, and then ultimately, when we are saying we're trying to fuse tourism and culture, it's because these two things are very close to each other if you look at it, and then if you dive deep or delve in deep to understand where are we coming from, and with our cultural identity, I'll just take you slightly back. Because I mentioned at the beginning that I come from KwaZulu-Natal. Back in the days, the history tells us that where we are coming from, it was called Tongaland.
All right.
And then what then has happened, obviously, we know there's there's always going to be change now and again, changing
Yeah.
of names. And then obviously when you start changing names, you're taking away the identity
Yeah.
for that particular section or for that particular area. So if you look at the olden map, it shows that we were in a space called Tongaland, which is very close to Mozambique, and then also on the other side we've got a beautiful country called Swaziland. So we're just like on the edge, and then we're called Tongaland. And as a result, even today, you still find places that relates to Tonga, and even our language, when we speak Zulu, it's not like a Zulu that is like from Durban side of things, you know.
All right.
They are those words that when we pronounce, you can pick up. No, this one, yeah, it's from Zululand, but on the northern part of Zululand. So that actually also tells you, even the food, the way we dress, the way we actually articulate ourselves when we are in front of other people, it's completely different, you know.
Yeah.
But I feel like we also sort of kind of like shifting away, because we always thinking, this is not glamorous, you know, because now I feel like I belong into the other cultural identity.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, we are sort of shifting away, and that has a huge impact, because now our generation won't have a privilege to get what we got, even though we just got the tiny bit of what is our cultural identity.
Yeah.
They're not even getting that tiny bit. They're getting zero.
Yeah.
You know, like they don't even know their clan names.
Yeah.
You know, you ask them to say their clan names, they'll be like, what are my clan names? So that shows again with that lineage. We've just lost it, and we are losing it. It's quite sad. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
So yes, I come from there, and then I operate this organization. We actually started around COVID-19, around about 2001,
Yep.
and we're like, it's something that we were dreaming about it, you know. And we're like, but we don't have finances, and we sat down and we just looked at our skills that we had, and we're like, but we don't need finances.
Yeah.
We can just utilize our skills, and then obviously culture has been there.
Yeah.
I mean, we have the place, so we definitely don't need any financial muscles to operate.
Yeah.
And we are doing well, and we're going to be hosting another event that commemorates the Tonga culture. You know,
Okay.
so which is
Nice,
quite
nice.
fantastic, and I'm looking forward to.
Yeah. So how has it been selling your place as a place of tourism? Maybe because one of the things that happens like globally, people don't usually tour their own countries. So how has it been to try and get South Africans first to visit this place, and then also the international community? How has been the reception in that bit?
I think we are very lucky from the geographical perspective point of view of where we are.
Yeah.
On the map, because we are in a wetland park called Isimangaliso Wetland Park,
All right.
which was the first World Heritage Site in South Africa,
All right.
by the way. So we are right there.
Okay.
And we have got beautiful rivers, and then part of the Tonga history, it actually tells us on the books that one of the sustainable fishing method
Okay.
that has ever been lived, or that is still even living, that is dating more than 120, 150 years.
Yep.
It's found at a little place called Kosi Bay in Tonga,
All right.
in Tongaland,
All right.
or the old Tongaland.
Yeah.
You know, it is found there, and it's still existing, and it is sustainable,
Okay.
because they're not using nets, they're not using fish lines, but they have built traditional fish kraals
All right.
on the lake.
All right.
It's an estuary, so obviously it leads into the ocean.
Yeah.
But now these traps only traps bigger fishes, number one.
Yeah.
And number two, it has got like a tunnel that allows the fish to be caught only when they're coming back from their breeding zone, going back to the ocean, which makes it so sustainable, because when a fish comes out from the ocean, the intention of it coming out is to go and nest, because now the estuaries, the way they are designed, they are they're protected because there are no big or predators, more predators than out in the ocean. And then secondly, it's very nice and calm for breeding purposes. So obviously they will come out, but now the tunnel that allows them to go into the kraal is not facing the ocean. It's facing the other way around. So now it only allows the fish to be caught when they're coming from the breeding zone back to the ocean.
Okay.
You understand? So now they have laid their eggs.
Yeah.
So more babies are coming, you know.
So now you can eat them.
So exactly, you know, that traditional. And the way I like it is because there were no sort of civilized engineers who actually taught them that.
Yeah.
It was something that they've just inherited from from their forefathers.
Yeah.
There was no engineering type to say, okay, let us put this principle. Hey, you can't do that.
Yeah.
You must do it this way. But it's just something that they've just carried, and it is still existing even today. Although obviously legalities have taken place to say we need to control the overfishing, but they can't control that part because it is sustainable.
All right.
So I think that is one of the things that actually makes the area so rich.
Yeah.
I'm just touching in the little bits,
yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Because on that lake as well, there are 3 interlinking lakes.
Okay.
You know, and then they are being connected by certain channels. So you can travel from one lake or from the first lake to the second lake to the third lake up until you get into the ocean, you know, without no problems. And that is one of the best attractions we have, because that place also carries the identity of Tonga people.
Okay, nice. Yeah, it's interesting because you're touching on African science a lot, which is something that I see a lot with the conversations that I have. I was in Swaziland at, I think it's Matengwe cultural village.
Okay, nice.
Yeah. So they were explaining why they have not allowed any development in terms of how they build their houses. So they are dome-shaped houses, and then those houses can be moved when necessary. Also, it comes back to sustainability, which is embedded in the African science, African ways of doing things. Yeah. So now you spoke about kids not knowing their clans and stuff. Maybe if we can look at what has gone wrong in our education, maybe if we can look at that, what would you say is wrong and how would you correct that?
Yeah, no, the education system is so wrong. Focusing on the cultural aspects, because I feel like the shift that we've taken has just deprived the culture, the African culture.
Yeah.
Because what we are busy doing right now is that we are doing what other countries, and in fact the countries that came in and sort of positioned themselves to take a center stage.
Yeah.
As opposed to the people who were born and bred in that in different locations across the whole continent of Africa.
Yes.
You know. So now this education system, I think we still need to zoom in and include subjects that number one are of a language of that community, because it's also easy to consume something or to learn something that it will be then spoken in your language.
Yes.
As opposed to have a different language, because that different language will always praise the identity of that particular language.
Yeah.
Depriving the identity of where you belong as a person.
Yeah.
Which then makes our kids or our generation to lose that cultural identity. Obviously, it's not going to happen like in a split of a second, but in a long run, you know, it takes place, because this goes as far as even the food that we eat. This goes as far as in even the clothes that we wear. This goes as far as also just understanding of who we are. Because, I mean, like, if you don't know your identity, you're going to get lost. Because there's nothing that is actually controlling you or driving you to a certain direction of which we call its future, because everyone wants to have a brighter future, you know. We also want to live long, you know. So, so culture plays a centric role. Because even if the food that we eat even today, you know, it's so wrong. But obviously it is being marketed in a way that you feel like, I have to. But meanwhile, you really don't have to, you know. So I think the education part, it's something that we still need to zoom in and implement things that align with our culture. Yes, we need to have that universal language, I fully agree, so that it will be easy for us to communicate, for us to trade. But we cannot lose our culture, because when we lose our culture, we lose our identity and we lose the future.
All right. So on the food part, maybe going back on what we've discussed, maybe before. Maybe are there any things from your place which traditionally are acceptable, and you think that can be a replacement? If you can identify that this can replace 1, 2, 3 things, these are the things that we're eating which are wrong, and this is how we can replace these things to have a more sustainable environment, and also at the same time, like you said, we want to live long, and how do we usher that in?
Okay, I'll just make an example from where I come from. We eat a very nice some of the people, they call it a weird curry
Yeah.
for them because they're not used to it.
Yeah.
But we eat a curry that is made with ground nuts.
All right.
We call it, I'll mention the Tonga name, we call it ukutimbela or ukukandela, that is isiZulu. So what we do then, we take the ground nuts,
Yeah.
we cultivate it, which is again organic,
Yeah.
because we're not buying it, it's not
Yeah.
processed. So we plant it, and then we just take it from the ground, and then we do the process of drying it out, obviously. And then we take these ground nuts, and then we just put them in a pastel, you know, and then we crush them. But obviously the kids of today, they now obviously will then put it into a blender.
All right.
You know, but the traditional way, you take a humongous pastel, you put it in, and then you grind it so that you make it powderish.
Okay.
So obviously, for you to make a curry thick, you'll have to use so many spices. You'll even have to use that powder soup. So so what we then do, we replace the powder soup. We just take it out in the process,
Yeah.
and then we use the ground nut powder
Okay.
to thicken our curry.
Ah, okay.
You know,
Okay.
and it's the best curry that you can think of, because you can have it with the cabbage, you can have it with fish, beef, with chicken, you can have it with anything.
All right.
You know, it's so amazing. And there was this one part whereby I laughed when I was looking at someone who something that I also eat. They call it creamy spinach.
Okay.
You know,
Yes.
creamy spinach. And if you look at creamy spinach, and you can tell it, whoever came up with cream spinach
Yeah.
already found the idea of
Yeah.
the ground nuts, because it's one and the very same thing, even the color. But now when you taste it, it's completely different, because obviously it's creamy on the other
Yeah.
side, and then on the other side it's so peanutty.
Yeah.
You know. So, and we even make a samp, and then we
Right.
add in peanuts on the samp.
All right.
When you eat that samp, I tell you,
Yeah.
you'll be full for the whole day. You know,
Yeah.
we even also, I just want to show you how much peanuts we then eat.
Yes.
You know, we have something called ugume. So
Yeah.
inside ugume, there is just maize, and also you also add in peanuts.
Okay.
It's dry food. So back in the days, our forefathers, when they were trying to seek for so-called greener pastures, coming
Yeah.
up into places like Pretoria, Joburg,
Yeah.
for job hunting,
Yeah.
they will carry this food with them because it's dry, meaning that it can stay longer. You know, it's not processed. It's healthy. I cannot stress that enough.
Yeah.
It's so healthy. So they will carry this food with them, and it will just, the only thing you do when you eat it, you feel so thirsty afterwards. And then you're not thirsty for soft drinks or fizzy soft drinks. You're
Yeah.
just purely thirsty for water.
Yeah.
And you drink. That is the most healthy way. And then now the healthy way, they say I drink 8 liters of water. But now the food that we eat,
Yeah.
it like you must drink a fizzy soft drink, not water.
Yeah.
You know, and then your stomach will be like, yeah, but you have a liquid, you know, but it's not the actual liquid that you're
That I'm
supposed to
looking
have.
for.
Exactly, you know. So I think that's the food. And if you go to restaurants,
Yeah.
none of the restaurants sell that. You understand? So I feel like the shift is not just only impacting, but it has a huge economic impact to the people who understand how to make the traditional food. Because if you can have a restaurant that sells that,
Yeah.
I mean, who will buy it? You know, who will definitely buy it.
Right,
That's
yeah.
an economic return
Yeah.
for those cultural identities that we have in Africa. Because it's not only us. You know, where I come from, there's so many different types of traditional foods
Yeah.
that are not available for sale.
All right. Yeah. Then going on the spiritual part, or maybe looking at our roots, we have had names for God way before the name God, or the name before the colonization started and introduced some other belief systems which we have abducted like crazy. We've taken them with both hands, and they now kind of define us. But we've had Chikwembu, Utiko, Nkulunkulu, Sibaote, Moari, all those names existed way before. And maybe if we look back, is there a way of tracing what we used to do? How did we communicate with God? And is that a sustainable way, or is that something that we can still try and fancy to look at and say this is an alternative to what we can also do and define us? And maybe if there are differences between the two systems, why is ours better?
I think I'll start by saying it is 100% better the way we used to do it.
Okay.
But the only hindering problem that it actually took place, obviously colonization was one of the biggest factors.
Yeah.
So when the colonization took place, what was then quantifiable as something that is valuable was data. So when colonization took place, these guys brought in a system of saying let's have data. So by then we did not have anything that is data that can be quantifiable to say this is what we have been doing. It was written by Professor so and so, or so, which again takes us back to the education system again.
Yeah.
Because now we don't have, like, even if you go to a museum right now, you will find less information about our cultural identity as Africans, as opposed to the other Western books that obviously drives you to a certain agenda, which is not the identity of where you belong. So you end up not knowing where do you belong. That's why some of the people, they'll call us a lost generation. Because if you look back, our beliefs were saying, obviously you're going to go to a place called Msamu to speak to your ancestors. But before you do that, obviously there's things that you need to do, like xenophobia, and then you communicate with your ancestors. People are still doing it even today, Even if you look at the Western medicines, some of it is still African medicine, but it's just been modernized. So it's being repackaged so that it can go to the market for selling. But now if you look at that economic return, it's not returning where it's supposed to be. It's being diverted to somewhere because they have this data, quantifiable data, and they've attached value on that data. Meanwhile, on the other side, we don't have. Like right now, we are recording something our fathers did not have the opportunity to record and have data, have conversations like this, and have something that is tangible that someone else can pick up the document or maybe a video or anything that speaks of the cultural identity, that speaks of who we are, So that's the biggest problem, because you can go to libraries, you will get very less information. Like as I was saying to you, that if you look at our old map from where I come from, there's Tongaland, but there's very less information that has that map that still stipulates with this place was called this place. You understand? There's less information, which I think.
All right, Then maybe let's look at the African continent. One of the things that seems to be dotted all over Africa is fights, whether it's within the countries or whether it's amongst countries themselves. How important is African unity, and is there a way of us getting to a place where we can unite and pull everything together and try and build something as a continent? It's 1.4 billion of us. But we've split ourselves into small, tiny groups, and we are not benefiting from the resources that are on the continent, and we don't control most of those resources anyway.
I think that's a very valid question. That's a very valid point, because if you look at Africa as a continent, we are so rich in terms of mineral resources. We are rich in culture, because those mineral resources and culture are just one and the very same thing. And I felt like colonizers saw a huge potential, and we also opposed as a threat. Because can you imagine if we can just have a United States of Africa? Then that will give us power to control what we have. Because again, we are categorized as a developing country, with so many resources. There's a place that is built on a desert. I'm not going to mention the name, but it's so wealthy. But it's built in a desert because they've just understood the power of control and the power of ownership, which we don't have. So only if we can unite. It could take so much time, but I feel like we are running on a treadmill. It's like we're like in one position, and I feel like we talk too much, but we don't implement. but we are rich only if we can unite.
Yeah.
But obviously, again, I'm going to go back to the education system. The education system is it's kind of like enforcing us to like, hey, that one is from the other country, you know, like came in putting borders, you know, you need that ticketing, you need that passport, I need to know where you are. It's not bad, but now that is actually creating the demarcations, number one, and then again it's creating that type of separation.
Yep.
And then now when you look at your brother, because I mean, like we all look, if you go to the clan names, and you sit down, you write the clan names of Gumede, you write down the clan names of Msane, go write down the clan names of Ukwabe, and the list is endless. And you sit down and look at these clan names. These clan names could reveal that we come from one place. Like there's a center of us, you know, like settling into a center to say this is where we all come from. But now why do we have to then fight and like unity is the key. Unity is just the key.
Yes. So with unity, maybe we are not in power. We are not at a level where we make policies.
Yeah.
But maybe from a layman's point of view, where someone is an individual, how do you then try and calculate that culture of trying to be united at an individual level? We're talking about individuals in all African countries and maybe even in the diaspora. How do we then try and foster that unity and build something towards a united Africa?
I think the first thing that we just need to remember is that we are one, and wherever you are in Africa, just know that whoever you meet is your brother and is your sister. That's number one. Because if you go with the code of brotherhood and sisterhood, you won't do something that is not right.
You won't. Yeah.
It's called Ubuntu.
Yeah.
And you know, speaking of Ubuntu, I always make this when we are out on hiking, because that's what we offer. We offer hiking, we offer camping trips, we offer environmental education, we make awarenesses. So we always, on our first night, we always sit around the fire and we talk about history, we play old movies, you know. I always say, under the word Ubuntu, there is no longer Ubuntu, there is now Umuntu. Yes, because now if you are Umuntu, you become an individual person. But Ubuntu, it's the unity. You know, so with everything that is happening, and the shift of getting into a culture that is not ours, we are sort of in the middle, lost generation. We've just lost the Bu, and then we just left with Umuntu. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, we're now individuals. I'm doing this for myself, not for other people, which is there. So before I let you go, maybe if you can let us know what you're working on at the moment, what people can look forward to, and where do they find your stuff? How do they get in touch with you?
Amazing. So currently, we're going to be doing an activation project. Well, this coming December, we're doing an activation project. But where we are going with this, we want to create an annual event. It's going to be a 3-day event, which we are going to call Tonga Cultural Experience and Indigenous Games.
All right.
Because what we want to do there, we want to take people back and be proud with our cultural identity, but we also want to educate that kid there. We also want to educate the Africa as a whole.
Yes.
So that we try to bring the Ubuntu vibe, but we cannot just bring Ubuntu vibe without knowing the cultural identity and the power we hold if we understand our cultural identity. Because if we understand our cultural identity, the Ubuntu eventually will come back. Yeah. Because we know who we are, and we will then know where we are going. Yeah. You know, so that's what we are working on. It's a 3-day event that will start obviously with campfires. As I mentioned, we'll allow people to camp, and it's not going to be in the city. It's going to be right in the middle of the Bundus. Yeah. Because I mean, like, that's how we grew up. That's how our forefathers grew up. Yeah. Because we just want to connect with the nature, number one. We just want to connect with the spirits. We want to take people into the spiritual world, whereby there is less technology. You know, there is less of Wi-Fi. You know, we're not going to even have Wi-Fi. You know, but you know, we just want to make sure that it brings that vibe. But basically, what will then be happening? We are going to be having dialogues
Okay.
around the campfire of where have we gone wrong? How can we fix it? How can we try at least do the right things for our generation to come? You know, and also obviously call elders to also come in, because those are the guys who are carrying the data I was saying, because we don't have it on paper.
Yeah.
So we have the mobile data, you know, that is moving.
Yeah.
So we are going to call elders to come in and just, you know, give a lecture. And I also want to just make sure we have documents, we document and we write something for each and every event, and just look at different topics that needs to be addressed. And then the following day we'll kick off by a trail run. You know, we're not running in the tarred road. We're going to be running in the bush.
Yeah.
You know, do it properly. Yeah? We'll run in the bush. We come back. We do the indigenous games. And with the indigenous games, what we are intending to do, we want to describe them or profile each and every indigenous game, so that we also put in outcomes of why these games were existing back in the days. And then under outcomes, what skills people used to learn under those. And then also, if you look into other games that are played out there, those games, they don't carry our identity most of the times, you know. And if you look at how the economy is also centered, is that obviously if you play a certain game, you will need maybe a stick. That stick needs to be manufactured somewhere. That glove, that boots, that sock, that whatever, it needs to be manufactured somewhere. But now if you go to a store, you want to buy an indigenous materialized game, you won't find it. You know, but now if we take it back, we can able to manufacture our own kit to play our own game. That is economic return. So we're valuing what we have. And at the same time, while we're valuing, we are also educating, because if we then have outcomes and skills that are centered under each and every indigenous game played, that's gold. That is absolutely gold. We can obviously, with the technology, because things are changing, we cannot run away from that. Obviously, we also do need to change. But let us modernize our own things, but still play them and enjoy them as how they were enjoyed back in the days. And then the third day, because I said it's 3 days, and then after indigenous games, we'll just do music side of things, whereby we're focusing again on the traditional music, because it has to be traditional centric, you know. And then the third day, it's just going to be, we're socializing, we're having exhibitors, we're having crafters in our area, but everything that is traditional. It has to be traditional, clothing, food, because we even want to have a dedicated area that we are going to call Tongaland, whereby we are going to bring in even indigenous fruits that are growing in that area. We are going to bring in food, the costumes, everything. We just want to profile that area as Tongaland. We put in maps. We put everything that speaks to Tonga people, you know. Obviously, we're not going to say, I change or whatever. It's mainly part of the education. So December we're doing an activation. It's going to be just 2 days, so that at least we can have something to say, this is Vision 2026, because we want to do it in September, because September is Heritage Month. And then, you know, we just want to make sure that we align. So that what we are currently working on at the moment, and we are so excited. And we are available across all social media pages. We are available on LinkedIn, TikTok, we are available on YouTube, we are available on Facebook. You just go look for Mseleni Trail Hunters. That's where you find us. You'll see this logo, just all over. And we make sure that we keep the page alive, the content, and the work that we do. It's always in there, and we're visible. Email address is also available on our social page. Contact details are available on our social page, and the work that we do just speaks for itself.
Nice. Yes, that was the majestic King Ntokozo on Global Sakhamuzi. We're owning our narrative as Africans, and it begins with us. King Boaz signing out.
Thank you.